Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation coming up in the next two games. GB men first, GB women second. GB men up though. First, as I said, South Korea, their opponents, how they really could do with a win. They've not been successful since Sunday, so what a chance it is to end the first round of fixtures in the men's goalball with a victory against the South Korea side, who have won twice on this court over the last few days. Let's go through the lineups then, starting with Team GB. Names familiar to regular goalball fans. Matt Loftus, number 2. Josh Murphy, number 3. Number 4 is David Scott. Number 5 is Caleb Nanavi. Number 8 is Joe Roper. Number 7, Dan Roper, is missing with injury sustained yesterday in the defeat to Japan, so he'll be missing out. Faye Dale is the head coach. Alex Bunny is the assistant. Josie Hewson is also a member of the coaching staff. So only 5 to choose from for GB, not the case for Korea. They've got the full 6. Namo Kim, number 1. Sunyuk Hong is number 2. Wonjin Son is number 3. Myongjim Kim is number 4. Inte Jeong, number 8. And number 9 is Hak Soo-im. Jin Kim is the head coach. Shin Kim, the assistant. And Jing Lee is another member of the coaching staff. Well, before we see if GB men can start the day right with them and GB women playing, here's your little guide to goalball if you're new to this sport.
This is your guide to goalball. The aim of goalball is to throw a 1.25 kilogram ball into your opponent's goal and to prevent your opponent from doing the same. At the end of the match, the team with the most goals wins. It's a simple premise, but there's so much that adds layers of intrigue. At official competitions like the Paralympic Games, goalball can be played by athletes who are blind or partially sighted. All players must wear eye shades to even the competition. Players have some audio and tactile cues to help them locate the ball and their surroundings. The lines on the court are slightly raised so players can feel where they are on the court. Added to that, the 1.25 kilogram ball has bells within it to help players locate its position. That's right, by the way, 1.25 kilograms. Goalball is played on a court of 18 by 9 metres, and the goals themselves are the full 9 metre width of the court. In teams of 3, players take turns to attack and defend depending on possession of the ball. It requires great toughness and durability as the game is played on a hard court with limited protection, and the only way to stop the ball going in is to block it, sometimes by hurling yourself across the hard court to make spectacular saves. In attack, different throwing techniques are used to generate power and accuracy and to try and dupe the opponent. The most common is the discus throw, where players spin and release akin to a discus thrower. A popular move, coined the Brazilian special, involves powering the ball backwards through your own legs. Players aren't unlimited in their options though. Among the rules is a requirement for the ball to touch the floor in both your own and your opponent's half, much like a ping pong serve, to be a legal throw. At the Paralympics, throws have been measured at over 60 kilometers an hour as the best players in the world look to fire their way to glory. The USA are the most successful country at the Paralympics, with both their men's and women's teams winning a combined 13 medals over the years. Their women's team have also got the most World Championships podiums. In the men's, the USA are also the most decorated with 5 Paralympic medals, closely followed by Lithuania with 4. Goalball is played all around the world at the highest level at world and regional championships in Europe, Africa, the Americas and Asia and Oceania, as well as lots of smaller competitions. So what are you waiting for? Check Goalball out now.
We're almost ready to go then for the GB men's game against South Korea. GB in red, left to right. South Korea will be in white. So, of course, GB, who, since they beat Egypt on Sunday, have not managed to win another game. They lost on Monday to Israel. They lost on Monday to Germany. They were beaten by Lithuania on Tuesday, 13-3. And then they played twice yesterday, losing to Finland and then losing to Japan. So 4 in a row they've lost. Can they get a victory against the South Korean side, who have been very, very good on court, who have the lineup as Inte Jeong, who is the danger man for South Korea. He's the right. The middle of the 3 is Wonjin Song, and on the left is Hak Soo-im. There's David Scott. Lines up for Great Britain, 4.
South Korea starts with the ball. Quiet, please. Center.
Centre is Matt Loftus, and then Josh Murphy is on the left. And away we go, South Korea starting us off. Kept out well by Loftus, who immediately passes it to David Scott. Kept out well though by the South Korean defence on their near side. First test for Hak-Soo-im. Passes it with flying colours. David Scott's turn to do so for GB. Saving it with the legs is Won Jin Song. You can use any part of your body in Goalball to make a save. In terms of getting a goal, you've got to use a throw. Power on it by In Tae-jong, but Loftus in the way of it. Great Britain number 2. South Korea's turn to have a go. Saved well though by Loftus to right him. Jong's effort turned into by David Scott. Good defensive block. It's the first time we see the power of Scott, but it's kept out by In Tae-jong. David Scott's effort is then kept out well by Won Jin Song on the stretch and kept it out. The effort goes wide. Well, South Korean players are wearing white shirts, but they've all got red trainers on, so there's something to add to the kit that they've decided to add on their own. Tae-jong gives it to Hak-Soo-im to have a go. Im's effort is with power. It was low along the floor. Not a bouncing effort, but one that GB keep out. And Josh Murphy's effort goes wide. It bounced over In Tae-jong. It just went a little bit too early to try and keep it out, but went wide of his goal, luckily for him. Kept well by Loftus, and no goal for South Korea. Well saved by Loftus' left arm. Scotty puts power on the shot, and that is a great finish by David Scott. Well, he has shown that there is a lot of power that he could generate on his shots, and he's done just that. Right through the middle of the South Korean defence. They can't keep it out, and David Scott gives GB the lead. As the GB spectators get crescendo and noise out quickly before the action gets back underway. Loftus just passing down into the surface for Josh Murphy to let fly. Straight there at Won Jin Song. It's 1-1. Arrowed in wonderfully by In Tae-jong. There was no chance anybody was going to save that. And South Korea peg GB back. Hak-Soo-im is kept out by Loftus, so 1-1, 9 minutes left of the first half. It might just be creeping in, is it? Oh, I don't think that's all over the line, is it? Well, Balenbenko, the official, had a look at the official to him right by the very width of the goal. In Tae-jong through the middle. It came off Murphy, then it bobbled off him again. David Scott clawing it away. Doesn't look like on that replay that whole ball's over the line, to be fair, so maybe that is the reason why England have got off scot-free. As GB have got off scot-free with that save by David Scott. On the score at the moment. Can GB take the lead again? Effort there by Murphy. Kept up well by the feet of Won Jin Song. And it's now 2-1. In Tae Jong through the gap. We highlighted him as the danger man, and it's showing here. Lovely turn and spin. It was not a fast turn back in. Along the floor. Too good. Too powerful for Loftus and Murphy. 2-1 South Korea. And the game on the other court, by the way, is Australian men against Argentina men. This attempt for GB. Nice to see him in the lineup after, of course, playing a lot of this tournament so far as a sub. Timeout called by South Korea. Wow, started so well for GB with David Scott putting GB into the lead, but then two In Tae Jong strikes have seen the game now go in South Korea's favour. Faye Dale is in discussion with her GB players, Loftus, Scott and Murphy. South Korea's coach Jin Kim doing the same with his players. It will be South Korea's restart. Tae Jong again, looking for a first half hat-trick, but is denied. South Korean attempt by Loftus. That's got good loud cheers from the GB supporters. You can tell it had a lot of power next. It flew right over the crossbar and the frame of the goal after, of course, the attempt came in. Attempt by Scott as Jong was denied. He went the other side this time. If you were to do a heat map of the different areas In Tae Jong shoots in, it'd be all over the place. And it's now 2-2. Josh Murphy's effort has gone through the player who just had the last South Korean attempt. The discus type technique throw, and it's just gone right the way through In Tae Jong and ended up squirming under him and in the net. And as GB have replied, 2-2. Murphy along the floor, kept out well though by Won Jin Son. Certainly, GB making a good fist of this, compared to perhaps the last couple of games where it's not quite been the case at all. As Union Jack flags are out and about in the CBS arena. Murphy with the attempt, kept out well by Jong. And it's now 3-2. Well, South Korea go back into the lead, and it's a hat-trick for In Tae Jong. Just completely wrong-footed Matt Loftus, who kind of went to his left. It went on his right side and through the middle of the goal and in. Scott's effort has just gone wide, and South Korea picking holes in the Great Britain defence and leading again. Shout of yes, Matty, as he made the block on the latest South Korean shot. Tae-jong's effort right on the line of his goal is Josh Murphy to stop him. There's now Scott. By Hak-soo-im. He seems to be the one for Great Britain that if you want power and placement to match, David Scott's the one who seems to have got both nailed on. He's proved that theory in this tournament already. So timeout called by GB. 5 minutes 38 seconds remaining. Great Britain 2, Korea 3. They're deep in discussion. She looks like she's going through every individual player before the timeout is over. The way we go, GB 2, Korea 3. GB women on next, remember, against Greece on this court. Tae-jong, go through the middle, it's just bounced off Loftus, who sprints to make sure it don't go over into South Korea's half again, and he's done a good job. Saved by Murphy's, saved by Jong. Footed save by Loftus, but the throw from him was so powerful that the block from Loftus has gone back to a white shirt. David Scott doesn't even need to really move to deal with that shot as it goes off the court, and it will be a GB ball. Attempt, it's in, 3-3. I said about how David Scott possesses the power and the technique for GB, and that's proved it again. Wow, he was right on the goal line, all the way back, got the power. That is how you score with that technique, as shown by David Scott. And it's now 3-3. And there is fight in this GB side that may have not quite been there in the previous games. Since Sunday's win against Egypt. So 4 minutes 16 remain of this first period. Great Britain 3, Korea 3. Hak-soo-im is denied as Loftus is in the way of it. So we're now into the final 4 minutes of this half. Attempt by Murphy, who's already scored today. It's one that South Korea hold on to. Scott may have just helped this shot in from Tae-jong, but he shuffles back to hold on. Whenever it came off the side of his left leg, there was probably a lot of worry that it might have resulted in South Korea scoring a 7th of this first half and a 4th for themselves. Tae-jong right on the line of his own goal, going right up to the very end line and firing it wide. Well, there was no bounce and probably could hear the rattle from it moving mid-air, so Murphy dived in line with the ball. Flew past him and wide. Of course, the balls used in Goalball have, or the ball I should say, has two bells inside it that ring. Of course, to make the players able to locate it, whether it's mid-air along the floor. Hence why the crowd has got to be quiet as well as the staff. And the action is ongoing. Kept out by Inte Jong. Effort by Haksuim has gone in, and that's 4-3. Well, it's a real disappointing goal for England, for GB to concede. Haksuim just got it through, and David Scott just didn't really turn himself into it in the right way. He needed to go more over to his left side. He kind of half committed. Goes beyond him and in. Acrobatically and sliding right to the very line, over it with his body is Won Jin Son, but the ball of course was back in his side's half, so of course it was still going to be a South Korean attempt, because Josh Murphy's going to go off. There's Joe Roper's going to go on for GB.
For Great Britain, coming off the court, number 3, Josh Murphy, is replaced by number 8, Joe Roper.
Of course, Dan Roper not available due to injury sustained yesterday in the defeat to Japan. Means that GB only have 5 players in their squad for this game against Korea rather than the 6 you're allowed. GB ball, Scott trying to fire it in again, but South Korea keep it out. Bounced effort, which is cleared by Loftus with his right foot. Anything he did fling forward there was his right foot, which got it away from the goal, and then unable to get it away from the goal is Joe Roper. Inte Jong again. Helped on in by Joe Roper. The power helped that in. And Inte Jong really is having a masterclass out there for South Korea today. Minute 15 of the first half to play. GB 5, Korea, GB 3, Korea 5. Taejong will step up and will throw it, but it's not going to be to the side. It's still straight down the middle as Loftus says his stomach. Kept out well by Loftus again. Well, can they get one back to make it 5-4? Just ease things a little bit for GB. It's just gone over the GB goal from that effort from Inte Jong. Deflections are all seemingly going behind GB. Some have ended up in the net, some in that case ended over the goal. One that didn't go in. As Joe Roper's effort was tipped to one side, to the right by Inte Jong, who's got 4 of the 5 Korean goals in this first half. Haksuim takes, heavy bounced effort, but it stays low as it gets close and is cut out by Matt Loftus. Attempt by Taejong, defended well by GB. Who I don't think are going to be able to have this count as a shot, you know. Buzzer sounds, they're not. GB trail. The last game on this court in the sort of first round of Goalball here in Coventry. They trail. They'd been in front with David Scott, but South Korea and a hero of their own, In Tae-jong, has proved to be the nemesis for GB. We'll be back in just under 3 minutes' time at the break. It is GB who trail by 5-3 to Korea.
IBSA, International Blind Sports Federation, presents, with the support of the International Paralympic Committee, IBSA Anti-Doping App, the first application of its kind in the Paralympic movement, specifically designed for blind and visually impaired people. Athletes, coaches, medical staff, managers, and the public in general now have a powerful tool to stay focused on the principles of clean sport. Scrolling down the main menu, you can find all the important themes you need to know to play fair and be alert to testing procedures and necessary adaptations for athletes with visual impairments. IBSA gives top priority to anti-doping control, being the only international federation with 3 sports in the Paralympic family: goalball, football, and judo. IBSA anti-doping app has external links, namely to WADA, where our sport agents can always find the most updated information, especially the list of prohibited substances and methods. Glory in sport can only be achieved by the athlete's awareness of their rights and responsibilities. You can find them on the IBSA anti-doping app. IBSA is continuously promoting anti-doping education to all its affiliate athletes and sport agents, not only about the consequences of the use of doping and the risk of using supplements. IBSA believes that education is the major tool to fight doping in sport. Informed athletes can make better decisions. Download the app now at the usual operating system stores.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have seen history being made today.
Such a great team at these championships.
IBSA. Beyond sight. Feel the sport.
So welcome back. GB right to left in this second period in their red strip with white, of course, on the sort of top of the shirt. There's a little bit of blue. South Korea in white, a little bit of black on their shirt as well.
Half-time substitution. Great Britain out number 8, in number 3. Great Britain start with the ball. Quiet, please. Center.
Balint Benko, the official, letting the crowd know that it will be GB to start. Of course, it will lead to a penalty because didn't land in the Korea landing area. And it was a high ball as well. So David Scott here has to stop Korea going 6-3 up. Which he can. It's in by In Tae-jong. Well, that is not what they wanted. And not what they needed. Just a few seconds into the second half, as the eye shades of Son Jin-won are being checked out. South Korea 6, GB 3. In Tae-jong's got 5. GB have David Scott, Matt Loftus and Josh Murphy on. Of course, he replaced Joe Roper at the break. And for Korea, they have In Tae-jong, Won Jin-song and Hak-soo Im on court right now. Speaking of on court right now, Australia men taking on Argentina, by the way. Scott with the attempt, low, bouncing. Got Inte Jong moving from his little area. Him along the floor. Brilliant stop with his right foot there by Loftus. Came right off the bottom of the sole of his trainer, and tonight South Korea going 7-3 up. Jong's effort kept up by Loftus. Nanavi and Murphy on the bench for Great Britain. For Korea they have Namo Kim, Sun Wok Hong and Myeonjim Kim on there as well. GB effort with Scott. Straight at the centre. Son who keeps it out. And then the effort is just smacked off the bar via the deflection off David Scott. While Inte Jong had a lot of power. You can even hear it clip the bar and go out. If that goal was a lot higher, that is in. Simple as that. It was very small in height, but wide in width. Covers the whole court, doesn't it? The goals in Goalball. Sort of one net. Sort of each, and kind of three nets kind of going all together with one player each defending each of the three goals, the right, the centre and the left. As with over 10 minutes of this second half to play, it is Korea 6, GB 3 as Inte Jong and Wonjin Son just seemingly a bit of a miscommunication or misunderstanding as they were trying to set up a chance. Inte Jong gave it to Son, Wonjin Son, who threw it off court. GB with the next attempt, make it 6-4. Second for Josh Murphy. So they're now within two. The sort of discus throw, bounced into the ground, then bounced up high again and over the Korean defenders. And it's now 6-4. Chasing down a deficit, which of course they were 5-2 down from at the start of the second half. Then it went to 6-3. Now it's gone to 6-4. Jin Song getting on the save of Josh Murphy, outstretched arm as well. Scott getting on an outstretched arm, but it's in. Off Haksuim. And Korea have got it in the net, but not going to stand. Well, it is 6-4 as the timeout's called by Great Britain. So it is Korea 6, Great Britain 4. Next up on court, the home fields continue. GB women up against Greece at 3:45. And then, of course, the next men's game is Iran v Turkey at 5 p.m. Timeout is over, and Scott now lines it up for GB. Straightforward for Haksuim to keep out, whose latest effort did not stand for South Korea. Effort by Murphy saw him come into the centre. It was Loftus just tapping away as there was the anticipation of a shot. Tin Jae-jong's effort, though, not away from the centre. Loftus straight into him, in fact. So, didn't bounce in the Korean half. Another error by David Scott will lead to a Korea penalty here, which In Tae-jong has got. And will score from. Well, that's his 6th now. Highlighted him before the game and said he is going to be a real big issue of GB. Can't stop him, and it's proved to be the case, I'm afraid. Korea are 7-4 up. We've seen in some sides like Pavliukanets for Lithuania be very, very good. We've seen now with Korea, they have a talent in Tae-jong. Is it going to help them in the latter stages of this competition where they will be effort by Hak-soo-im coming from the far side into the sort of middle-ish area of his court. Sees the effort kept out by Josh Murphy. It's gone off Murphy, but just about able to hold on to it. There was genuine worry when it hit his side. It might have gone behind him and in, but didn't turn out that way. From Hak-soo-im has just gone into the side netting. So 7 minutes 22. Nearly saw Korea get an 8th had it not been for a deflection over the frame of the goal by the GB defence. Scott's throw bounces going into the far corner. Just a little bit out on the right side of In Tae-jong. Murphy with the latest attempt for GB. And there's another penalty that's gone in Korea's favour. High ball, which the officials have spotted. There were a couple of sort of South Korean fans cheering. So In Tae-jong for 8-4. And in it goes. It was never in doubt. Well, it's gone completely the other side of Josh Murphy. Brilliant finish. As it is now 8-4 to Korea with 6 minutes 56 remaining. As Balint Benka, the official, is speaking to one of the officials just inside the court where the goal is, just to have a approval to see if the goal was okay or not. There was no problem with it. There isn't, and it will be 8-4. GB attempt with Loftus. Tipped away and aside by In Tae-jong. Change here for GB. David Scott makes way. And Joe Rope will be brought back into the fold. I think as well, there's going to be another sub. Caleb Nanavi is set to come on as Josh Murphy's going to go off. Of course, before they go on, the eye shades get checked and everything is all good on Balint Benker's end. So we will now get back going again. With GB having the next attempt. Loftus with the attempt. Kept well out, and he's just moved over to the right as Joe Roper stayed in the centre since he came on. So, a few positional changes for GB on court. Trying to go through the middle was Inte Jeong. Still kept out by Nanavi. South Korea still making no subs. That's now 8-5 with Nanavi scoring. Across the floor, helped on in by Won Jin Sun. And Nanavi, only briefly since he came on. There's a GB goal scorer, 3 within it. Korea 8, GB 5, timeout called by South Korea with 6 minutes 23 on the clock, by the way. On the other court, it is Australia against Argentina. And then next up, Great Britain women up against Greece on this court that you're watching GB men against South Korea on. And South Korea with their next attempt have found a way in. Haksu Im. Nanavi just dived early and stayed in the ground really. And Im's effort just goes beyond the GB sub. And it's now 9-5 Korea. And looking to try and score again. Nanavi keeping it out again. Attempt by Loftus is dealt with by Haksu Im. Going back on the goal line. Coming all the way forward. Saved there by Loftus. So the high ball was called and it will be a Korean penalty, GB penalty. So Haksu Im, who committed the infringement, is the only South Korean player on the court right now. Loftus, Nanavi and Roper in discussion. It will be Nanavi who will attempt to get it past Haksu Im. But he will not, I'm afraid. Knew exactly what was going on and tell by the bounce and the sort of rattling that it was going to be where exactly Nanavi tried to do it, which was over to the near side. Can Nanavi have a better attempt here? Fortunately, he cannot. He's now sprinting back is Joe Roper. Very keen for GB to get another shot away in Matt Loftus, but unable to find a way through. And it might be helped in here, and it is. It's 10-5. Spilled by Joe Roper. And Haksu Im now has got a hat-trick for Korea. It is now 10-5 Korea. 5 to play. Little fake run to try and fool Korea as Loftus lets fly, but South Korea keep it out. Jong fires it wide. Well, they beat Egypt on Sunday. They've since then, GB, lost every game they've played on this court. Lost to Germany on Monday. Tuesday they lost to Lithuania in that real heavy defeat. They would then, of course, lose twice yesterday to Finland and to Japan. It's going to be another loss here, I think, as ball didn't bounce in the landing area, so it's going to be a penalty for Korea. Haksuim's going to have it. Can he get away from Loftus? No, he cannot. Well, it was good defending from Matt Loftus there. Went right the way forward, faced it up. It was low, and it was kept out to deny. Haksuim. He won't make it 11-5. GB ball. None of his effort. Just wide as the crowd nearly thought that might have just been sneaking in. Not to be, as still remains 10-5 in South Korea's favour. John kept out by good stop by Joe Roper. Remember, Dan Roper missing due to his injury, picks up against Japan yesterday. There's going to be another South Korean penalty there, really adding up against GB, aren't they? The success rate has been mixed bag, South Korea. Haksuim's going to take it again. He just missed the last one. It's against Loftus, this last one. Now it's up against Nadavi this time round, and it's 11-5. And it's him again. Him's here to tell you that Korea have a 6-goal swing against Great Britain, as they now lead 11-5. Well, South Korea, you speak about how GB have had a bit of a rotten record on this court. For Korea, you can't really take away the achievements they've had. Against Lithuania on Monday, they were behind and ended up winning, which is probably the best comeback we've seen by any men or women's side. GB one against Egypt was pretty special, but South Korea one probably ranked slightly higher, you could argue. On this court as well, they beat Egypt yesterday. Third game on it. Third win, it seems. There's the attempt in the fake run was Loftus, and the attempt by Nanavi is just about stopped by Haksuim and Wonjin Song. Attempt by Loftus, touched over his own goal by Wonjin Son. Good defending as well to knock it over his own goal. Now In Tae-jong, denied by Loftus. So there will be a South Korean change. First one of the match for them. Sun Wok Hong is going to go on. And Wonjin Son's going to go off. Just having his eye shades checked by Balint Banker, the official. Staring right at him, of course. They do have to check that before they go on. Of course, remember, as I've said, the players on the court cannot touch their eye shades unless the officials give them that permission to do so. Again, there is still a thorough check going on for Sun Wok Hong, who's just using his right arm to get him along the goal frame to get him on the court. So back underway we go. Korea 11, Great Britain 5. Make that 11-6. With Nanavi scoring again. Along the floor. Precise. Arrowed in. Helped on in by the feet of Inte Jong, but might be too little too late for Great Britain as it's 11-6. Im's effort kept out well by Joe Roper, who is very, very fast off the blocks whenever he seems to make a stop to want to pass it to his right or to his left. His right in Loftus, in his left in Nanavi. Loftus with the block from Im's attempt. GB will have another attempt with Caleb Nanavi. Right arm throw right behind him. Went for the same sort of technique that he just scored his last in his country's goal from, but South Korea keep him out. There will be a change for Great Britain. Matt Loftus to go off. And David Scott will be coming back on.
Great Britain coming off the court, number 2, Matt Loftus is replaced by number 4,
Benko just checking the eye shades. Of course, he's covering that whole far side. There's Benko, so of course he's keeping a close eye on these sort of South Korean players and subs who come on, and the GB ones. The near side is where, of course, the other official, Riley Sipura, is to do the same. Over on the left-hand side of your picture. (11-6) the score in South Korea's favour. Inte Jong's effort bounces, stays low though as it goes close to centre Joe Roper. Substitution now for South Korea, and Inte Jong. Brilliant performance as he's just gone into Haksu Im, just purely by accident. Just he's about to come off. Namo Kim is going to be brought on here for just under 2 minutes. Of course, you can be fully blind or partially sighted to take part in Goalball, but every player on the court has to have eye shades on, remember, because if they don't, it means that potentially you could have 2 of the 6 players being partially sighted and 4 of them for both sides being blind. So it means it's a fair advantage, as Alex Bunny was just appealing for a possible penalty for Great Britain, which is the case. Nanavi, Scott and Joe Roper discuss how they're going to do this and what route they're going to go down, as Haksuim is the player for South Korea to defend it, and he helps it on it. Scott was the player for England, for Great Britain to put it in, and it is now 11-7, or we thought it was. Scott has then kept it out from the resulting South Korean penalty. So Scott's effort was in but didn't stand. South Korea's effort kept out by David Scott. So it is still 11-6. Nanavi unable to get past Aksu Im. Who will have their latest attempt for South Korea. As they look like they're going to make another change in South Korea. And it was nearly 11-7 if it wasn't for that deflection being stopped going over the goal line. So South Korea change.
Substitution South Korea coming off the court. Number 9, Im Su, was replaced by number 4, Kim
Myung Jim Kim is to go on. Patch is just getting the check by the officials before he comes on. So the clock will stop every time, of course, there's a stoppage. It won't be running like you do see in sort of professional football. Well, they will add stoppage time, of course. They will just stop on whatever the time is, and they will get to the exact 12 minutes on the clock, and then, of course, the buzzer will sound. Effort by Namo Kim, kept out first of all by Joe Roper, then David Scott. Scott's head, and then he sticks his left arm up to say that he needs to just have his eye shades checked. So, of course, got the approval of the officials and got their attention because he stuck his arm up in the air. If he'd done it himself, he would have been given away a penalty for Korea. So back we go. Would GB having this next attempt? None of his effort saved well by Namo Kim. Kim's effort saved well by Nanavi. Shout of a penalty. Faye Dale's arms are out, saying that it might have not gone into the landing area. And a high ball, I think, could be what the reasons were. She's not quite happy about that. Of course, she couldn't voice that because the action was still going on, but she put her arms out. She stared directly at Riley Sapura, but got nothing for it. South Korean timeout, as just said by the official. So they are 11-6 up, 34.9 seconds left to go. Match 69 here of the Goalball tournament between the men and the women's. Of course, we do get back underway in 20 minutes' time when GB women take to the court against Greece. And barring the win against Egypt, GB have lost all their games, the men's. Since that Monday, beaten by Germany. They were beaten by Lithuania on the mercy rule on Tuesday. 2 defeats yesterday to Finland and to Japan. They're going to go down to South Korea here, so it's going to be one win from a possible few matches on this court. Namo Kim with the effort. He's got off Nanavi. And then scrambling to save it was Joe Roper, which he did. So another South Korean timeout. So on home soil. It's not been too good as a GB Goalball fan for the men's. Just one win they're going to have. From just 6 possible matches. So last 2 seconds of this game. Will there be one last goal to show for it? Jim Kim's going to have a go here for South Korea. The discus style throw, kept up by the legs of Joe Roper. It's wide as the buzzer sounds. So not the best of ends to their first round campaign for GB men. It's another loss as South Korea beating them 11-6. Far too strong and just a bit more superior in every sense. Just the one win they've had on this court all day, or all tournament. As the other matches, Japan 0, China women 1, Greece 3, Ukraine men 12, Australia women 0, Israel 3, and Korea men have beaten GB 11-6 here on court in Hall 1 here at the CBS Arena. Great Britain women to come up against Greece women. And then the final 3 matches of the day. Iran, Turkey men, followed by Finland against USA women. That's at 6:15. And then at 7:30, Ukraine men are up against the US men. But it's full time in what is the 5th loss from 6 for GB men. It is finished. Great Britain 6, Korea 11. Welcome along. Great Britain women up against Greece women. Hopefully they can bring a bit of cheer to the home support after, of course, the GB men would lose out against South Korea. Their final game of this first round of games for GB women as they take on Greece. Let's take a look at the lineups then as we're edging closer and closer to the start of this contest. Starting with Great Britain then. Sarah Leiter, the number 1. Antonia Bunyan, number 2. Georgie Bullen, number 3. Amelia Robertson, number 5. Megan Schriftson-Booth, number 7. Lois Turner, number 8. Aaron Ford is the head coach. Becky Ashworth is assistant. And supporting them as well is Lawrence Mayhew. And for Greece, well, they are like this. They have number 2, Vasiliki Agiou. Elena Chalkia-Daki is number 3. Evgenia Stamati, number 4. Zulieta Busi, number 5. Paraskaivi Naka, number 7. Evlampia Mavriavarunti is number 9. Melpomeni Kesanapoulou is the head coach. Ioana Prapaki is the assistant. And Ioannis Makos is the assistant member of staff as well. Ramadas Vaitekis and Raquel Aguado are your referees on court. As, of course, beforehand, we show you a little guide to Goalball.
This is your guide to Goalball. The aim of Goalball is to throw a 1.25 kilogram ball into your opponent's goal and to prevent your opponent from doing the same. At the end of the match, the team with the most goals wins. It's a simple premise, but there's so much that adds layers of intrigue. At official competitions like the Paralympic Games, Goalball can be played by athletes who are blind or partially sighted. All players must wear eye shades to even the competition. Players have some audio and tactile cues to help them locate the ball and their surroundings. The lines on the court are slightly raised so players can feel where they are on the court. Added to that, the 1.25 kilogram ball has bells within it to help players locate its position. That's right, by the way, 1.25 kilograms. Goalball is played on a court of 18 by 9 metres and the goals themselves are the full 9 metre width of the court. In teams of 3, players take turns to attack and defend depending on possession of the ball. It requires great toughness and durability as the game is played on a hard court with limited protection, and the only way to stop the ball going in is to block it, sometimes by hurling yourself across the hard court to make spectacular saves. In attack, different throwing techniques are used to generate power and accuracy and to try and dupe the opponent. The most common is the discus throw, where players spin and release akin to a discus thrower. A popular move, coined the Brazilian special, involves powering the ball backwards through your own legs. Players aren't unlimited in their options though. Among the rules is a requirement for the ball to touch the floor in both your own and your opponent's half, much like a ping pong serve, to be a legal throw. At the Paralympics, throws have been measured at over 60 kilometers an hour as the best players in the world look to fire their way to glory. The USA are the most successful country at the Paralympics, with both their men's and women's teams winning a combined 13 medals over the years. Their women's team have also got the most World Championships podiums. In the men's, the USA are also the most decorated with 5 Paralympic medals, closely followed by Lithuania with 4. Goalball is played all around the world at the highest level at world and regional championships in Europe, Africa, the Americas and Asia and Oceania, as well as lots of smaller competitions. So what are you waiting for? Check Goalball out now.
Close to getting started, so the 3 GB players are letting out a big roar. Bunyan, Bullen and Robertson, the 3 GB starters for this first half. Agiou, Naka are 2 of the 3 for Greece. Find out the third one for you shortly. Hear the cheers from the GB crowd. Left to right, GB starting off. Red shirts against the white of Greece, who are right to left. Kept out by the Greek defence. Moving now, Agiou to have a go. Through the middle she goes. Bunyan. Greece be able to succeed from this effort? Stamati, who always seems to just roll it quite at a short pace, just sees the effort comfortably dealt with by Antonia Bunyan. His effort was seeing two Greek players going for it, but it would be Naka who would get in front of it. And of course, within the allotted time carrying on, she threw it back to Agio, and she just decided with the right hand to throw it off the court and not give away a penalty, as Bunyan in a hockey mask now as an attempt for GB. Comes to nothing, however. Marty along the floor, just trickling close to goal, but Bunyan had her near post covered as she just sees her feet kick the inside of the post. Way to her left. Minute in, Great Britain nil, Greece nil here in the CBS Arena in Coventry. Yeah, with the effort for Greece, which doesn't get Georgie Bullen moving at all. She just stays stationary in the centre. It's going to be a chance here as it's going. It's not. London's effort was stopped by Greek defence. It nearly looped over and into the goal, but just goes off the court. So it stays 0-0 for now. This is a game with not riding on it, because whoever wins this goes into the knockout stages of the next round, which of course will start to take place tomorrow. This is the final round of matches from the first round of group stages. So a huge game for both Great Britain and Greece. Bunyan's effort is kept out by Paraskaivi Naka. The centre for Greece, Agio along the floor, turning into it and denying her to keep it out as Antonia Bunyan. Now goes to Robertson, who moves over to the far side before coming centrally. It was kept out by Naka. Britain left to right in red, of course, have Robertson, Bullen and Bunyan as the three from right to left, and right to left for Greece. They have Stamati, Naka and Agio. So, chance for both to get into the knockout stages. So, I wonder if that is something that both these players know about, and if they are playing with just that little bit more added pressure. Certainly even more added to Great Britain when you consider they're on home soil, remember. Agio's effort is saved by Bunyan, and it's somehow ended up in the net. Well, Bunyan tipped it forward. It came off the back of Bullen and in. And to everyone's surprise amongst the crowd, Greece have the lead. Where Great Britain looked so set in stone that they were going to keep it out, but it isn't to be, as they trail here. So now Bullen will have a 1v1 penalty against Stamati, who's gone on towards the very first line inside her court. There is a timeout. It has just been called before this penalty can be taken. So, chance for Aaron Ford, the GB head coach, to maybe think about some improvements that could be made. Or how this penalty could be approached. Georgie Bullen is going to be the taker to level it up. Nearly 3 minutes played. All she has to do is beat Stamati, who's in the middle of the court, in between the goals. Was Bullen can aim left or right. Will be 1-1. Stamati stayed down the middle. Bullen, though, as soon as she moved to where she needed to throw it from, she was always going to level it up, and that's exactly what she did. By the way, this is the only game taking place at this time. Denmark were due to play Ukraine next door on the courts in Hall 2, but due to Denmark's withdrawal, it means that, of course, they are no longer part of the competition here in Coventry. Robertson's effort is just touched on behind by Stamati. She dived, the ball went off the front of her and went behind her, and it flew high past the post. It's Agio, who was the Greek goal scorer, trying to score again. Bunyan now trying to put Great Britain into the lead, but can't do so. And of course, they'd be a little bit wary of the time there, Greece, in terms of course, they get 10 seconds to get a shot at the opposition goal, and of course, they felt like they might have been unable to get a shot away, so they just threw it off the court and didn't risk, of course, giving away a penalty. So a couple of the players from the GB men are in attendance, which, of course, know that they're going to be providing support to the GB women, who, of course, are playing right now, drawing 1-1 with Greece with 8 minutes remaining of the first half. Bullen, the GB goal scorer, getting Agio moving, but Agio keeps hold of it. Bunyan's attempt is kept out by Paraskavi Naka. Well, GB women, of course, won their first game on Sunday on this court against Australia. Followed that up since with defeats to Israel and a loss to Japan, as well as a loss to China. They don't want to have 5 defeats from 6 like the men. So now Stamati will have an attempt here for Greece. She just always gently seems to just roll it, doesn't she? Don't get a lot of power on it, but she always looks for the placement, which is a sort of go-to and way that she thinks is going to be a route to goal for a nation. We're drawing here at the moment with Great Britain. And the winner of this has a chance to be into the knockout stages. The officials will say, quiet please, to not allow any noise to be from the crowd or from the staff. That includes sort of electronic devices as well. Greece attempt with Stamati, again along the floor, again targeting Bunyan. It will slip and slide and not feel anxious about having to deal with that. So 5 minutes remain. Great Britain 1, Greece 1. Marty has quite a few attempts for Greece of late, which aren't being successful. Agio with power this time. She goes in the direction Stamati does, but gets out as well by GB. Both sides, since they've managed to score, have been able to get that goal to put them into the lead. Greece's case back in front, or in GB's case in front for the first time today. Robertson's effort is kept out well by Vasiliki Agio. Moving along the back of the court is Stamati. I was just hoping for a little deflection there off a GB player. It was Bullen who was sliding forward just in front of Bunyan, but it did just calmly go into her. Of course, no game, remember, on the other court next door due to Denmark's withdrawal from the competition. Robinson with the attempt. Oh, kept out by Paraskaivi Naka. She gives it to Stamati, who again throws off the court for GB to have the next shot and not give away a penalty. That's the third time they've done that in this half alone. Of course, quite smart to do that when you don't want to run the risk of not having that a little bit more time to have that shot or full foul of being done of the 10-second rule. As it's spilled by Bullen, and Robertson has stopped it going over the goal line and stops Greece taking the lead for a second time today. Agio going low. Saved by Bunyan to keep it out. Sense the tension and what is riding on this for both. It's usually whenever there is a chance miss for GB, whether it's the men or the women, you can really hear a lot of noise generated, but they do seem like they're a little bit more quieter than what they have been over the last couple of days. Of course, with Union Jack flags all around in the seating area here in the near side of the CBS arena as Robertson's efforts. Strickles wide. Naka used her feet to try and stop it. It went away off the side of her, nearly just crept in away to Agio's left side. Just went past her and that's the goal. 2 minutes 50 remain on the clock in this first half. What a piece it is. Japan 0, China women was a result earlier on. China winning 1-0. But if GB do draw this, that's good enough for them to go through. Remember earlier on as well, Israel beat Australia 3-0 in a really strong performance by Israel, who've been really good on this court all week actually when they've been playing. But here at GB, the result is the right one for them as it stands. The only win to date is that win against Australia, but they'd like to get another one to take into the sort of next phase with. Stamati's throw is dealt with well by the centre Bullen, so GB change.
Number 2, Antonia Bunyan, is replaced by number 8, Lois Turner.
She usually is always the first player to be replaced on court for GB is Antonia Bunyan, and Lois Turner usually is the first player to come on if she is a substitute in this tournament, and is the case here as she is onto the field of play, on the court. Effort with a bit of power, it just bounced but sat low for Aguio to get a grip of. Lois Turner on and saving Aguio's effort. Over now to Robertson, who's going to look to try and get GB in front here. She can possess a real rocket shot, but kept out by Grease there. She does usually tend to put a lot of bounce inside her area before it lands in the Grease area. There's Robertson. He's popped up with a few goals already during the week. Here now for Grease. Right arm throw, bounces, but it's kept out well by Bullen. So we're into the last minute of this first period. Here with it for Grease. Well, helped by Bullen, who is there to keep out. All across the floor with that effort, which took two Greek players to try to stop, Naka and Stamati. Bullen was diving, but it went straight through to Lois Turner, who just had to get her right side out to deal with it, and she did from that throw from Stamati. By Aguio again, targeting Lois Turner, but she's showing no weakness. Robertson's attempt is one that Grease keep out with Naka. Stamati will go along the floor to Bullen, who won't get the chance to try and fire towards the Greek goal. Well, it is one apiece at the break. It's a result good enough for GB as it stands this draw. They trail with Vasiliki. Aguio scoring the opening goal, then Bullen would equalise with a penalty. GB 1, Grease 1 at the break here in Coventry.
IBSA, International Blind Sports Federation, presents, with the support of the International Paralympic Committee, IBSA Anti-Doping App, the first application of its kind in the Paralympic movement, specifically designed for blind and visually impaired people. Athletes, coaches, medical staff, managers, and the public in general now have a powerful tool to stay focused on the principles of clean sport. Scrolling down the main menu, you can find all the important themes you need to know to play fair and be alert to testing procedures and necessary adaptations for athletes with visual impairments. IBSA gives top priority to anti-doping control, being the only international federation with 3 sports in the Paralympic family: goalball, football, and judo. IBSA anti-doping app has external links, namely to WADA, where our sport agents can always find the most updated information, especially the list of prohibited substances and methods. Glory in sport can only be achieved by the athlete's awareness of their rights and responsibilities. You can find them on the IBSA anti-doping app. IBSA is continuously promoting anti-doping education to all its affiliate athletes and sport agents, not only about the consequences of the use of doping and the risk of using supplements. IBSA believes that education is the major tool to fight doping in sport. Informed athletes can make better decisions. Download the app now at the usual operating system stores.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have seen history being made today.
Such a great team at these championships.
IBSA. Beyond sight, feel the sport.
This game's tight, 1-1 it is as we're about to start the second half. Israel in Greece in white, from left to right. Great Britain in red. Remember, a draw for Great Britain is enough to send them into the next phase of their home tournament here. The Goalball, of course, in Coventry. A little bit away from Birmingham, but, of course, part of the IBSA World Games. Final game on this court for GB of the first round. Stamati will now have an effort for Greece, or she won't, because she will throw it off the court. They did that quite a few times in the first half, didn't they, where they threw the ball off the court because they didn't want to be done on the 10-second rule and knew that they couldn't get the shot away. Greece now with an attempt with Agio. No changes for either nation at the start of this second period. Greece from right to left, Stamati, Naka and Agio. Great Britain from right to left, Robertson, Bullen and Turner, who came on towards the end of that first half. Robertson low with power, but kept up by Stamati. So, under 11 minutes of this second half and of the entire game to play. It is 1-1 here between Great Britain women and Greece women. Great Britain, of course, have already won a game in this tournament. They beat Australia the first day of action. They would then lose to Israel. They would then suffer a defeat to Japan on Tuesday, as well as lose to China yesterday. So this would be a positive result for them if they were to see it go on like this, or if they were to get a goal or a couple to get them the victory. Stopped well by Naka, who was trying to pick up the ball, but she couldn't quite bend down enough to stop that from going off the court. It just sort of came off her left foot, so GB will have the shot. Kept out well by Evgenia Stamati, Sarah Leiter, Megan Schriftsen-Booth and Antonia Bunyan, the changes that Aaron Ford could bring on for Great Britain. As the cheers come, because it's a penalty for Great Britain. Chance to take the lead for the first time today in this match. As Agio's got to try and stop Amelia Robertson here, who's not going to take it yet, because there is a timeout that's been called. Greek subs, by the way. Elena Chalkiadaki, Zulita Busi and Evlampia Mavro Buniti could be introduced at a later stage in this match. It's 1-1 here. Remember, next to come on this court is the men's game between Iran and Turkey. Finland-USA is the final women's game of the day. 6:15, and then a round off the first round action on court in Hall 1 is Ukraine against USA men. So that might be a cracking finale potentially for viewers of this stream. So back to the action we go. Penalty for GB. Robertson's denied by Aguio. Guesses right. Keeps it out. Chance to go 2-1 up has been squandered by Great Britain. Aguio throw it across the floor, kept out by Bullen. Stamati then denies Lois Turner. Over now to Amelia Robertson, who just missed that penalty a few moments ago. Holding on to it with 2 hands was Paraskaivi Naka. 9 minutes plus remain. Greece 1, Great Britain 1, has been since the first period. And the officials are Romaldus Vitekius and Raquel Aguado. Gone off Turner, but doesn't go over it. It will stay at her front rather than go to her back because she held on to it. It just sort of slipped as it came off her, but she did just catch it, so well done to her to be on the goal line and be positioned to make the save on the rebound. Evgenia Stamati's low sort of non-powerful effort is kept out by Georgie Bullen. If she can get it away in the corner, it might prove a bit more difficult for Great Britain to stop. But she tends to throw along the floor straight, so it is never really not going to trouble the Great Britain defence. Out by Turner. Now GB with the shot with Robertson. Doesn't quite just bounce up and go over Paraskaivi Naka. Greek defence are in position along these sort of tactile lines, and of course they provide the position for the players on the court where they need to be, as they can move their hand along it or just sort of know where they've got to be, and how far they have got to be from the line. Of course, in terms of how they detect where the ball is, they hear it from the bells inside the rubber ball, so hence why the crowd and stuff have got to be quiet. So timeout called by Greece and Mampomeni Sanopoulou. Court also getting a white because of the players diving around to stop shots. They do leave sort of sweat on the sort of court. So they, of course, do give it a bit of a wipe just to clear it up, make it a smooth surface. Quite a hard court as well, so you will often see players with sort of protection on their elbows or not wear shorts because they can get sort of bruises and everything else associated with that from the court because of them diving around to stop a ball that is, remember, 1.25 kilograms in weight. Back underway, and still 1-1 here at the CBS Arena in Coventry. Effort kept out well by Aguio. It just goes off the court, but it will be a Greece attempt to come. Aguio low, straight at Georgie Bullen, now with Lois Turner. Can she get Great Britain into the lead? No, she cannot. They tend to go straight with their shots, both these teams at the moment. They're just reading where it's going at the moment. Both defences, so getting into the corner, that's when you know we're going to get tested, but feels like for GB, Amelia Robertson is about to have another shot. Is the player who's probably going to put them in front. Of course, the cheers. Emphasise Lois Turner keeping the ball out of the net. Sprinting, and of course stopping it going over the right side of the court where Great Britain are, so she gets it from just a few yards away before the line and throws it off court to not give away a penalty. So Greece have been very, very good at that, being wary of course, the 10-second clock. Stamati goes all the way back to the goal line along the floor. Turning into it is Bullen, scooped up to give it to Amelia Robertson, who nearly has found a way through. There was probably a couple of Great Britain fans who were thinking they might have to celebrate, but it just went past Naka, but Agia was there to keep it out of the goal. Stamati with the low effort. Held well by Lois Turner. Robertson with the effort down the middle. Naka keeping it out. Agia's effort is saved as well by Robertson. So here in Coventry, it is now 2-1. There is the goal GB wanted. And I said it felt like Amelia Robertson may be the player for GB that may get the next goal, and that has proved to be the case. Left her right-handed, there was a lot of power behind it, helped on in by a Grease touch. The deflection carries it in, and it's now 2-1 to Great Britain, who know if they win, they do go into the next phase of the competition on home soil. As it stands, they're on course for their second victory in this competition. Got the GB fans' voices going. Goal from Robertson. Of course, they have now got to be quiet when the action's back on and back underway. Looks like there's going to be some cheer and a victory at least for the spectators with GB. Of course, they didn't see any yesterday in the 3 matches. Didn't see the men win either earlier against South Korea. With the attempt for Great Britain, which Greece have kept out. Need to find an equaliser from somewhere as Aaron Ford, the GB coach, calls for a timeout. So 4 minutes, 31 seconds remaining of this second period. Great Britain 2-1 up. Timeout over. GB will have the first throw since the timeout. Stamati with the effort for Greece, who are still keeping faith with the current crop on the court. And Stamati, Naka and Agio. Pomeni Kasanopoulou is very much still sitting in the chair for Greece. And it's now 2-2. It's gone right underneath Lois Turner and in. Greece level. Quite right to keep the faith with the trio on the court. And underneath from that Greek attempt. And it's a fourth goal and it's 2-2. Zagio's effort is kept out. Her and Naka have swapped, so Naka's to the left and Agio's down the middle. Well, here's the Greek goal again. And right through Lois Turner, who was the near defender trying to stop it. But it went under her legs and into the goal. As it is now 2 apiece. Stamati right on the line for Greece. Will now eventually take it. She was halted, then had to take a couple of yards back to the goal line in her own area. And it's been helped in, is it? Yes, it is! Agio helps it in. 2 for Amelia Robertson, and Great Britain are back in the lead with 3 to play. Much needed, and at a very good critical time as well. In a crucial game for GB where that positive result will take them through potentially. They are 3-2 up against Greece. And on course again for a second victory in the women's tournament after that win against Australia. So Lois Turner is going to be replaced. Antonia Bunyan is to be coming on. Of course, she's got the purple sort of eye shades, as well as wearing a hockey mask. So she's certainly... hockey helmet, sorry. So she certainly is an England player with a distinctive feature. She's just having her eye shades and protection checked by Romualdas Vaitekius. Robinson with the attempt for GB, but kept up by Paraskaivi Naka. Still no change in the offing for Greece of yet. It does look like that might happen now, as the coach, Kasanopoulou, is up from the bench. Stamati with the throw across the floor. So there will be a Greek change as Evlampia Mavrovouniti is to be introduced, and Evgenia Stamati will go off. So change made For Greece for the first time with 2 minutes, 19 seconds remaining. She's decided, Melpomene Kasanopoulou, to shuffle the pack. Greece look to level. Agio along the floor. Denied well though by Bunyan, who of course is back on in place of Lois Turner. Mavroveniti on for Greece and unable to find a way through. Greece attempt with Agio. Slam shut by Georgie Bull and well held as well to not allow the shot to go past it. Great Britain closing in. The women, this is a second victory in the competition after that win against Australia on Sunday. Win will take them through. Even a draw will take them through. Not all been their own way either in this contest. Mavruniti sent it past Bullen, but not past Robertson, who keeps her out. Bunyan with this attempt now for Great Britain. 1 minute 11 seconds remaining. For Great Britain to hold on, or for Greece to get an equaliser, whatever way you look at it. Robertson not allowing the shot to go past her as Vasiliki Agio. The shots aren't even taking any bounces now. It's just rolling across the floor in the hope that there might be a deflection of some sort. They can just find it through a gap. As Robertson is the player who's just decided to go for a bounced effort as I say that. Greece will make another change. Of course, those subs have got to be right, because if you tell the ref and the officials wrong, then of course it will lead to a penalty. So they've got to make sure everything's right. Mavruniti is to come off. And Evgenia Stamati is to come back on with 27.8 seconds to go. Agio's effort goes wide. Bunyan diving, but it is wide. Bunyan's effort is turned off court by Agio, who used the right side to do so. Kept out by Bunyan, goes off Bullen, but back into Bunyan, who kept it out first of all. Timeout called with 3 seconds to go.
Greece with 3 seconds remaining. Greece 2, Great Britain 3.
So GB 3-2 up against Greece. And what is the penultimate women's game of the day? We've already seen Japan lose 1-0 to China. And Israel beat Australia 3-0 in the women's. 2 men's games done and dusted. GB men lost 11-6 to South Korea. There was a 12-3 win for Ukraine over Greece. as that sees Great Britain over the line. An important victory that should see Great Britain into the knockout round and the next phase of the Goalball tournament. It's just their second win here in Coventry. Of course, they beat Australia on Sunday and have been able to get over the defeats to to China yesterday. There was a loss to Japan on Tuesday and as well a loss to Israel on Monday. And they've been able to get a second victory, and they've fought hard to get it as they've beaten Greece women by 3-2 here at the CBS Arena in Coventry. As we now take a look at the highlights, well, Aguio would score the opening goal of the game and the first for Greece, who would be in front. Georgie Bullen then putting a penalty away that would make it 1-1. She would get it past Evgenia Stamati, who was never going to save that. And then Robertson would make it 2-1 with this effort, helped on in by Paraskaivi Naka. With then Greece back level in the game with Naka. And then it would be Amelia Robertson again who would secure the victory for Great Britain. And their second one overall with the 3-2 win. They've got over the line. They get the cheers from the crowd. Finally, the spectators in the CBS Arena have a win to celebrate as GB women have got over Greece by 3-2.